Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. As always, I am your host, Fearless Floyd, and I hope everybody had a safe and joyous New Year's Eve, New Year's night celebration and made it home in one piece or not out on bond, right? Or community supervision, some stupid stuff like that. So if you're here, hey, all right, awesome. I've been lining up some guests, so I got a lot of stuff coming up. I'm contacting more. I'll contact more tonight and tomorrow as well for confirmations on upcoming shows. Later tonight, I will have again. That's coming up in 2 hours, roughly. So 9 o'clock Central Time, I will have Iran back on. I have no idea what we're going to talk about. And next up on the schedule would be Carmen. Man, we've been trying to get this scheduled for. And as you saw from the very bottom of her little strip there, she is a former candidate and current candidate on the Republican ticket for the 18th U.S. Congressional District here in Houston, Texas, which is actually my district. That's how I kind of introduced myself to her because I was going to run. I was like, well, who the hell lost against Sheila Jackson Lee? And that's how we met. So, 2 o'clock next Tuesday, January 6th, 2 p.m. Okay. Carmen will be on. I don't know how long I have the opportunity to discuss things. If you have any questions that you would like to ask Carmen or any topics, anything like that, email me or send me a direct message and I'll have them ready and ask her because I'm definitely going to be this whole thing. I'd love to introduce you guys to her and tell her own personal story, but I'd rather dive into more of the politics end of it because since I was 12 years old, which now is a shit long time, I've lived in this district, unless I was, you know, in the Texas State Hotel. But otherwise, yes. And I've watched this area deteriorate over time. So, what can a new representative do for this community? And we're going to be discussing a lot about that. I'm waiting on Kurt to join us. We set this up to last night. Text. Boy, I've been going all day, so bear with me. Yes, last night, and we spoke on the phone. We set it for 8 o'clock tonight, and I've sent him two texts about what topics he wanted to discuss, and I haven't heard back. I sent him the link at 4 o'clock today. I still not have heard back. So if Kurt doesn't join us, you have to remember Kurt is in very consequential health circumstances. I'll just leave it at that. He has a variety of ailments, and he's not always functionable. That's why Daryl Link has really pressed me to have him on the show. So if he joins us, he joins us. If not, AI can carry the show until 9 p.m. when Iran gets here. But anyway, all right. Kurt tonight, Iran at 9, Carmen 2 on January 6th, Tuesday. Just remember that. 2 p.m. Tuesday. That's real easy. Okay. Carmen will be on the show. Y'all come watch that. I think you'll be very impressed with that show. And then, same day, Tuesday, Tuesday, that I used to do mortgage audits online for Sean Adley. Well, I didn't know it at the time, but Sean wasn't quite on the up and up, and he learned from Joe. And Joe had contacted me just out of the blue and said, "Hey, man, that guy that you're promoting, sponsoring, advertising for, or whatever, blah, 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 blah." He broke down the story to me, and I was like, okay, cool. So I just sat back and watched it. I didn't do any more advertising, and come to find out, it kind of backfired on me. So that's why I really haven't taken on a lot of sponsors and advertisers, simply for that fact that sometimes we get got. It was But anyway, now you're going to meet the real deal. So that is, again, Tuesday at 7. I've got more shows up. I'm going to book the rest of the week out. So you guys stay tuned. I'll have more and more coming for you. We're also going to do this. This is brand new. And we're going to bring Ann on, and Ann's going to give you some 20-minute little workshops about the OnTrust series, folks. Okay, it's not yet available. Let me go double check. Yeah, this should be it, right? No. Oh, there it is. Cover. Which book is this? I told you guys I wanted to get rid of some soft cover books, so I had space to store some other soft cover books. And all right. Okay. This is the OnTrust book, which most of you guys are familiar with this book. This book is 400. It's about 450 pages, thereabouts. Okay, it weighs 3 pounds. Earlier today, 2 of these and 2 of the specialty trust books. These were sent off media mail today, and that was 15 pounds of media mail that went out. So it's roughly, it starts at $6, and then you can go up, and it's $1 a pound, basically what it comes out to. But Manage Your Trust Like a Pro is this size. Okay, it's a $49 ebook, or actually $50, $49.99. But if you want to get one of these, actual soft cover, they're going to be available. Every one of them. Every book that Ann has done. So you'll be able to get Run Your Trust Like a Pro, Manage Your Trust Like a Pro, Trust Accounting, the Private Membership Association book, Dynasty Trust book, Revocable Trust book, the Canadian Revocable Trust book, the Australian Discretionary Trust book. You'll be able to get them all just like this. And you're going to get a series, and eventually you're going to have a library of everything that you need to know how to run a trust, just like a family office, because that's what these are. These are like textbooks. Okay. Now, what we will probably do in the future, and I don't know yet, I have to discuss all this with Ann, but we are going to work out some kind of thing where you can get the whole package. So we're working on that. We have to figure out, I have to figure out which books are, how big, whatever. And That's what we're working on. So we got a lot going on. She's coming out with probably a new book every week. If you buy into whatever in Anna LaFleur's On Trust series, whether you take a class, you buy a book, you're in the club. You're in the little private Telegram group. You're either in Anna LaFleur's book club or you're in that specific class. And guess what you have access to? And me. I don't play around over there much, but when I do, yeah, I'll answer questions. You can send me a direct answer or whatever. But yeah, you have Ann that you can just ask questions. Hey, Ann, blah, 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 blah. And guess what? You get an answer and you didn't even have to pay for a consultation. Isn't that cool? So that's what we call being in the club. I just went and checked my my P.O. box earlier today. I actually got out and about, and I haven't checked it since before Christmas. And I got a Christmas present. So for my subscriber, viewer, friend, associate, peer, thank you very, very, very much for sending me all this. And this is so cool, all the stuff that was sent to me. I got this. This is Magic Salve organic cannabis cream. And I got 2 of them. They smell good. And they came in that. And I got a letter in the Declaration of Independence. And he stamped it all up for me with his stuff, which is so cool. And even somebody's been watching my show, I guess. I don't know. And then this is on the Magic Salve. Rub on topical salve for pain, cuts, and burns, etc. Ingredients: organic shea butter, organic beeswax, organic hemp seed oil, organic coconut oil, organic full spectrum cannabis oil, essential oil blend, menthol, peppermint, wintergreen, cinnamon, camphor, lavender. Doesn't that all sound just scrumptious? 1,000 milligrams of THC, CBD, and trace cannabinoids per jar, made in the Michigan Republic in Charlevoix the Beautiful. And wow, I mean, and I'm not finished yet. And I got a handwritten letter I will get into in a minute. I haven't had a chance to even go through hardly any of this. I just opened it up and went, whoa, look at all this stuff. I'm going to assume that's their family flag. Huh. Where have I heard that before? Make your own flag. C3 Farm Ministries, a 508c1a church. And I'm quoting, healing ministry. I've never heard of this word. So tilizing, Tilizing, tilizing plant-based medicine and the frequency of faith, close quote. Let me say that real fast. Healing ministry, tilizing plant-based medicine and the frequency of faith, naturopaths, holistic healing. And of course, it's got the logo on it. And this is whole hemp seeds. And I'm quoting, the best protein source on earth, rich in omega-3s, fatty acids, and a gift from our earthly mother, close quote. Hemp seeds make a great addition to smoothies, salads, shakes, bagels, and can be added to dough. And then on the back of the card here, it says outside the box solutions, legal advocates, constitutional defenses, faith-based organization, private membership association, tax exempt entities, private and foreign trusts. And you can email them. Wow. And I'm not done. Sent me a book, The Essene Gospel of Peace, complete, the modern edition of the four sacred books of Essenes. Eterna Verba Publishing sent me this book. So, how cool, huh? And then, of course, got an autograph page. And then I have private registered silverback security. This is Canacash, and it's $20 US dollar equivalent. It's signed by the issuer. It was issued the fall harvest of 2025. The private ledger number is DJS 369000003. And has a transfer endorsement on the back, redeemable at C3 in cannabis products, $20 US dollar equivalent. And it actually has a mercury dime, a real mercury dime, which is worth about, $5.60 in silver. So this is actually a private membership association, silver-backed private security that he sent me. So this is how you set up your private membership association. This is how you fund it. Just like this. That's upside down, but there you go. All right. See, these are people who not only talk the talk, but they walk the walk. And I had no idea that he produced these products. So if you have a product line, you're a hustler, you're a grinder, you got a side hustle, side project, whatever, and you have something that's valuable to the community like this, and I had no idea, I'll promote you. I'll promote you. I'll put you on my website. I'll help you out. You help me out, and we'll help each other out, and we'll help the community out, right? Isn't that what we're all about? So how badass is all this just to receive this? And then the gifts, the goods, man. Wow. Thank you. And I'm still not done. So here I have C3 Farm Private Trust, the Charlevoix Cannabis Club, a private membership association. And then it has 4 products on here. I'm not going to show them to you. Wow, thank you, brother. Got all the prices on here, so I just saw what these cost, and yeah, thank you very, very, very much. And it says here, holiday special available to contracted members. C3 is a nonprofit private membership association, 508c1a educational farm church. And I'm quoting, "We worship nature, knowledge, and nationality," close quote. I'm quoting again, "buy the truth and not sell it. Also wisdom, instruction, and understanding," close quote. And that's from Proverbs 23:23. On the back. So there's the products I was telling you about. If you can see them from there, cool. And here is a certificate, private ledger registered silver-backed security, issued to Floyd Pleasant Tarvin IV, registration number DJS 369000003 of 13. Quoting, redeemable and cannabis hemp products from C3 Farm Ministries. Security must be endorsed to transfer ownership. Original silver mercury dime must be present in the security to redeem for face value equivalent in cannabis hemp products. Once the original above registered number security is endorsed, it becomes redeemable by any bearer. Oh, so I can endorse it over to somebody else and they can use it. Huh. All right. Original issued certificate and minister trustee. And it has his, oh, this is actually embossed. Okay. Okay. There you go. The actual gold foil seal is already on the document. So he embossed it with his embosser and then he has his seal there. So there you go. Is that all of it? Yeah. And the letter, and it's from December 5th. So that's how old this is. Almost a month later, I finally open all this stuff up and look at it. So let me get it here in a functional order so it doesn't get all messed up. There we go. So again, David, thank you very, very, very much, man. It's greatly appreciated. It's always nice to receive presents and be thought of during the holidays. And obviously somebody thought of me. So fantastic. And again, here's the little button. How often do you see people make buttons anymore? But there you go. These are actually pins, but yeah, there you go. So if you, if you want to start your own private membership association, and this isn't a pitch or a segue or anything, it just is what it is. There you go. That's somebody who is working privately within the system. Absolutely. That's how it works. That's how it looks. So thank you again, man. I'm just, very grateful. Very, just to be thought of is enough. But yeah, you sent me some stuff. So thankful for that. I got a couple comments. Let me go jam on these real quick. Hey, Jack's mom, how you doing? Tell Jack I said hello. I know, isn't that awesome? That's how you set this up. I try to tell everybody there's a way you can operate legally in the public privately where you can take yourself out of the system. It's so easy. A lot of people just don't do it. They don't know how to do it. And I just showed you a perfect example. I just showed you a perfect example of, what currency looks like. That's private security for his private membership association. That's actually backed by silver. This is a 1947 mercury dime. There you go. So you could literally attach, like a Morgan right here to it, or a peace dollar. And you could put it in there, like so. And then you could put on here, its value is spot price, whatever that is. Or, because this is 90%. So, you know exactly how much silver's in it. There's converters that will show you. It's actually Morgan's in really good shape for 1921. But I also have, a barber dime right here. It's nicked up. But these are worth about $550, $560 right now. But the barber dimes are worth a little bit more because they're older, just for collector value. But in silver, that's what they're worth. So, David, again, thank you very much, man. Sorry it took me so long to get to the post office to get it up, to get everything, but I finally got it, and I'm very appreciative and grateful. All right. Since I am awaiting Kurt, let me send him a text. clicked on my own self. Actually, let me call it. All right. That was Kurt. I got him all lined up. Apparently, Daryl sent me his landline, so I've been texting his landline. You think there's a communication breakdown? So we got all that remedied. Now I have his cell number. Sent it to him, emailed him the link, and yeah, we're good to go. So before he gets here, if listen, if y'all have a side hustle, come on, bring it. I'll help you out. Let's all work together. Let's build a community of like-minded individuals that can prosper. Because I'm telling you, folks, it's going to be us, we the people. You see what I mean? If you just turn on the news, you're just like, okay, nothing's going to change. Nobody's going to be arrested. Nobody's going to go to jail. You see all this billions, billions of your tax dollars just being tossed out like confetti. It's insane. And hey, guess what? Everybody's getting ready to get a rebate check. And then over in San Francisco, they're going to get $5 million per person as reparations. What? What? All that money's got to come from somewhere. And where the hell does it come from? Fines, fees, and taxes. Oh. And then that hidden tax called inflation. And this is the debt system, and it's the only way it's going to change is if we change it. Because if you expect Washington to do it. That's DC. It's not going to happen. In fact, hey, you know what? I'm going to throw it out here. I know y'all probably don't like Marjorie Taylor Greene, but you know, some of these people's they see everything, and they're just fed up with it. They're done with it, and I don't know if it's a move or what it is, but you know, we need to find somebody that's going to make a difference, that can make a difference, that will make a difference, that won't get in there and go, "Oh, you're threatening my family, huh?" Well, I'm the president, so I'm going to tell them to arrest you and take you to Guantanamo Bay for real and try you for treason for real on social media, live for real. Yeah. And then we're going to see you sentenced, and then we're going to see you executed for real. Now, do you think that would change the dynamics of this country, of the world? Because I told you guys, who's the world's police? The United States. How so, Floyd? Well, they didn't like Iran, so they went over there and bombed Iran, right? For the first 40 days of Trump's term, he bombed Yemen. He bombed the Houthis every fucking day. Venezuela. Oh, yeah, we got to go in there, stick our nose in there. Trump's all over the place. I mean, just go look at the headlines. It's insane. We're the cops. And part of that is to continue with the slave debt system that we're all entrapped in, the matrix. And listen, I don't give a crap what people say, man. As long as you're playing on one of these things, you're tied in the matrix, okay? I don't care if you're private, not paying taxes, or have some kind of status correction. You're still in the matrix. You're still subject to their will and authority. And that's why I laugh at all these assemblies who think they can somehow become autonomous overnight, or they can just like snap a finger like, okay, we're the government now. The lunacy of it all is just incredible. And why they can't get along, I don't know. That just makes no sense to me. So meanwhile, if you didn't watch Kurt on his last appearance and his feature when he first came out on the show last week, when we talked about the 5 counties, he said 6 that are private counties, which means a private corporation owns that county. Like I said, meanwhile, while everybody over here is in the assemblies circle jerking, doing reaches arounds to the person next to them, and it's just a line of circle jerking. It goes nowhere. Ain't going nowhere. Meanwhile, there's people over there doing real shit, taking over counties. It's like, yeah, what do y'all need, money? I saw something today on one of our students' Telegram. And she asked a question of Ann, and I was like, okay, I don't remember her. And went and looked, and I was like, oh, wow, check that out. I didn't have a chance to send this up, but I want y'all to look at that. The Sabinal National Bank, Sabinal, Texas, $20 will pay to the bearer on demand, $20. What does that say? Secured by the United States bonds deposited with the Treasury of the United States of America. And that's national currency. That is not a Federal Reserve note, even though looking at it, you would say, oh, that looks like a Federal Reserve note. This is actually a 1929 series. And then right there in the seal, it says redeemable in lawful money of the United States at United States Treasury or at the bank of issue. And then there's the serial number A000169A. I don't know how much this note's worth. I don't even know where this note's at, but I found that extremely interesting because why can't you issue bonds just like your municipality? Why can't you deposit them at the Treasury? If you have a corporation, private membership association, what's the difference? And issue your own currency, right? Isn't that what that looks like? Maybe you got to fill out some forms and register with, maybe the Treasury, the Federal Reserve, the SEC, FTC. I don't know. But there you go. We've just seen tonight, right? Private membership association money, private security. Kind of looks all similar, right? Got a serial number. It's a bearer bond, basically. And I didn't plan that. That just kind of happened. And I told you folks, I just live this insane divine life. Can't predict it. I have Kurt backstage. Like I said, if you didn't get a chance to catch him last show, that was on the 5 counties, and it was actually 6 that are being run by private corporations. And without further ado, Kurt Riggins, folks. How you doing?
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Happy New Year.
It better be. I don't know if we can continue to keep doing this year after year after year, this nonsense.
Yeah, I'll tell you. It's getting interesting.
Very. For all the newcomers who have no idea who Kurt Riggins is, tell everybody who you are. Give us your little elevator pitch or your bio of who you are and how you got to be here on the Fearless Floyd Show.
Well, I've been a tribal attorney since the last century. I started in the 80s being an attorney for the tribal, the Kikialis tribe and the Snoqualmos and several other tribes. And I've branched out to a lot of different federally recognized tribes in Alaska, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, South Dakota, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, all over pretty much, even up in the New York area, down in Florida, Oklahoma. So, and I don't know if people have heard of the Supreme Court case a couple of years ago called McGirt versus Oklahoma. In federal law, it's called the Indian Law Bombshell, because that case gave 3.25 million acres of Oklahoma, including all of Tulsa, to one tribe, the Muskogee Creek Nation. And it's shaken up a lot of states all over, because that's good. And they don't know exactly what they're going to do about that. They've been trying to undo it, and unfortunately, there's no appeal from the U.S. Supreme Court.
No.
And then so many other tribes have their land that legally they own besides the Muskogee Creek, and they're not demanding it, luckily for the states. But yeah, that's a case that could make a huge difference. And I think, you know, it's kind of got the president a little bit scared, but I think if he worked with the tribes and maybe he can make a lot of money for, you know, not just the nations, but for this nation as well. And, you know, do some reciprocal advantageous situations where, you know, everybody could, you know, win. People don't realize that all tribal members have a treaty right to travel. It's in their treaty. And I have a brief for that. My Indians' Rights to Travel brief. That says you have a right to travel, hunt, fish, and gather on open public land. And it says you have a right to travel by vehicular means. Well, what's that mean? Last I checked, that's what you drive around in, vehicle. And yeah, this brief's been very effective in multiple states because they tend to ignore treaty rights and just, you know, take people's, you know, some states they put you in jail. Before 84, actually, in Washington, if you got pulled over and you didn't have a license or insurance or registration, they impounded your car and took you to jail. And a lot of states, they do that still today. Colorado, where I'm at now, they do that. They impound your car, they take you to jail if you don't have a license or insurance or registration. Well, I haven't done it here yet, but in 84, when they were doing it in Washington State, and I was living there, and I wrote letters to the Inspector General, to the OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, and the GAO, the General Accounting Office. And I said, here's what Washington is doing. They're impounding people's cars. They're taking them to jail for no license, no insurance, and no registration. And under the Interstate Transportation Safety Act, Title 49 of the United States Code, which every state has adopted, these are not, nor have they ever been, arrestable offenses. They are traffic infractions only. They have to give you a ticket and let you go.
Right.
It's not what they do. And like Pittsburgh, I understand if cops pull up behind you and they find out that you're at least 2 months late on your insurance, they impound your car and take you to jail.
Wow.
Yeah. And they have, in a lot of states, they have what my friend he calls the Eye of Sarin. And the Eye of Sarin is what he calls it. Basically, it's the plate reader that will read your plate and run whether if you have insurance or not. Like say, if you're 2 months late, they'll notify the cops and they'll be looking for you. And so my friend is the smartest guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And he's been fighting Tennessee over their mandatory insurance laws because most people don't realize in every state, the only people that are required to have mandatory insurance are people who transport passengers, commodities, or livestock for hire, or people who were in an accident and were not financially responsible. You know, they didn't pay for the damages they did, and they are required to have mandatory insurance. Nobody else is required. And every state misinterprets these statutes and makes their own thing. And so when you write to the OMB, the GAO, and the Inspector General, and you say, gee, can you guys give federal funding to this city, county, or state to violate federal law? Because last I checked, to get that federal funding, they have to sign an agreement that they're not going to violate federal law to get those federal funds. So they can't violate federal law with that money. So how are they arresting 1 million people and impounding their cars and taking them to jail if they're not violating federal law to do that?
Right.
And after sending those letters to OMB, the GAO, and the Inspector General in Washington State in '84, they came back a couple weeks later, I believe, and said, after serious consideration and investigation, we believe we cannot. I'm like, what's that supposed to mean? Wasn't very clear. So
what's that supposed to mean? Right.
Like so I thought it was funny. They had a special set. They had when I wrote the letter, I showed it to my friend Betty Howard, a good friend of mine's mom, and she'd been beating the IRS since it was the victory tax, And she goes, "This is a great letter, but don't send it in." I said, "Well, why not?" She goes, "Wait a couple weeks." And I go, well, "Why would I wait a couple weeks?" She goes, "Because right now the legislative session is still in session. If you wait a couple weeks, it's going to be out of session, and they'll have to have a special session of the legislature just to fix this, to get their funding back." I said, "Oh, yeah, I like that." So I waited a couple weeks, sent it in, and they had to have the Court Reform Act of 1984, and they had to decriminalize all traffic offenses, including no license, no insurance, and no registration. And they can't arrest you for that in that state.
Huh.
But they had to lose their federal funding to do that.
Right.
So anybody can do it. Anybody. And so, if you're a citizen, you have a right to say, "Hey, how does this work? Can you guys do this? I'm not sure it's legal. And can they get federal funding to do this stuff?" And might take a couple weeks to figure it out, but most of them figure it out. And it didn't take more than a day or so for them to have a special session of the legislature to hold the Court Reform Act of '84, decriminalize all traffic offenses that were normally criminal. But you got to watch out, because in Washington, what they did was they had, I look at the session laws, and you want to compare those to the statutes. And you know about the session laws?
No.
Every state has legislative session laws that the statutes are based on. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And they're supposed to be identical. Mostly ever not. And in Washington State, what they did was the session law said failure to appear or failure to respond to a citation within 15 days, I think it was grounds to suspend your license. Well, that's what the session law said. But if you look up the statute, the statute said failure to appear or failure to respond /PAY is grounds to suspend your license. So what did they do when they added a /PAY to the word respond? They changed the definition of respond, didn't they?
Yep.
And that's not in the session law. That's only in the statute. So what they effectively did is they made anybody who was too poor to pay their ticket or fine a criminal. And they gave him a license to suspend anybody who was poor, their license. So they basically criminalized by the poor by adding 3 letters and a slash to the statute that did not belong in the session laws. And so I always tell people, check your session laws, compare them to the statutes, and you'll find some interesting stuff that doesn't quite jive. Because they, just by adding 3 letters and a slash, they impounded over 1 million vehicles and jailed over 1 million people.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's money, baby. That's what it's all about. It's all about money. Do you know, most people don't know anything about the CRIS system. You ever heard of the CRIS system?
Yes, Court Registry Information System.
Court Registry Investment System.
Investment. Well, tell everybody what it's about.
Federal Reserve. If you look up on the Federal Reserve's website, I don't know if they have it there anymore, but they used to have the CRIS system, the Federal Reserve Bank's website. Now, why would they need that for the information system, right? No, it's the Federal Reserve's Court Registry Investment System. And say, for example, one of my tribal members, he had a $10,000 bond, okay, cash only. And most people don't realize that cash only bail is a violation of Article 2, Sections 19 and 20 of the Colorado State Constitution. It's Article 1, Section 20 of the Washington State Constitution. And every state has the provisions that say the state shall provide sufficient sureties. Well, is sureties singular or plural?
That's plural for sure.
Plural, more than one. Well, when they demand cash only, is that singular or plural? Only gives you the clue, right?
Right.
Cash only, one. And so when the judge does that and says, I demand cash only, for example, for Tina Peters' case here in Colorado, they demanded $500,000 cash only bail for her. Well, that's a clear violation of Article 2, Sections 19 and 20. And all the state officer has to do is know the difference between singular and plural and have a clue of what his Constitution says under Article 2, Sections 19 and 20. Now, I had Judge Burback in Jefferson County tell me on record, I couldn't find Article 2, Sections 19 and 20 of the Colorado State Constitution. You know what I said?
What's that?
I did this. In open court. And he got all worked up, and then he goes, I'm an Article 3 judge. And I went, yeah. And he got shook up again because he realized he told me, an Article 3 attorney, that he was an Article 3 judge, which is a federal judge, which he was not. He's the lowest form of judge. He's a county judge. And so, him telling, and then he also said, the federal court has no jurisdiction in this court. And I gave him the old, again.
Right.
Without saying a word, what did I just tell him? DA, maybe DA. You're a what? Oh, okay. You're
right.
Not too smart, not too bright. And they get shook up when you catch them doing stupid things like that, and I'm pretty good at that stuff. And then he got kind of mad because I was asking him questions about, his jurisdiction and the fact that he didn't have an oath and all that. He goes, you say one more word, Mr. Riggins, one more word, I'm giving you 30 days in jail for contempt. You ever heard that?
Oh, yeah.
What'd you say?
They've never said it to me.
Oh, but if you did, if they said it to you, what would you say?
That they're in contempt.
No, you don't say that, because that just got you in jail. I say, yeah, you'll find out the hard way, bro. But let's make it to where you don't find out the hard way.
Right.
First thing you say is objection, right?
Mm-hmm. That's
a word. Are you going to jail me for objecting? And they're like, you say one more word, I'm giving you 60 days in jail for contempt. And I go, is this civil or criminal contempt you're threatening me with? I think I have a right to know. Well, they get worked up by that time because they don't expect anybody to say anything by that 60-day in jail threat. And they're like, well, criminal contempt. I'm like, well, thank you. I appreciate that. So I'm going to apologize as per the contempt statutes, because you realize under the criminal contempt statutes of every state, you can only hold me in criminal contempt long enough to correct my contemptuous behavior. And so the minute I apologize, I have just purged the criminal contempt statutes as per the statute. Or have you failed to read the contempt statutes of this state, Your Honor? You see why they love me? because I beat them up with their own ignorance, you know, and I don't put up with people threatening me, you know. And you ever heard of a judge when you say I object, a judge goes, "Your objection's noted." You ever heard
Right.
that?
Mm-hmm.
You know what that means?
It's heard, but it's not going to be adjudicated.
No, it means ignored.
Ignored. Yeah, same
Yeah,
thing.
that's exactly what it means. Your objection's ignored. Ignored. You let them get away with that? I don't. I don't let them get away with that. When they go, I'll go, I object. And they'll go, well, your objection's noted. I go, well, you know, oddly enough, I've read the statutes and the court rules of the state. I find where you can sustain my objection, which I suggest you do. And I find where you can overrule my objection, which I know you will. So which is it? Nowhere do I find where you can ignore or note my objection. So which is it? For the record. And they'll go, okay, that's the way you want it. Your objection's overruled. I go, that I can appeal.
Right.
But you ignoring or noting my objection is not an appealable issue. And
Now,
nothing.
At that point, do you stop all the proceedings and do an interlocutory appeal?
No.
You just wait?
No, I wait. No, the only way you can do an interlocutory appeal is if you file a petition or a motion on a specific constitutional issue.
Right.
Okay. Like in Tina Peters' case, all we have to do is file a petition on the fact that they violated Article 2, Sections 19 and 20 of the Colorado State Constitution, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and the 8th Amendment of the United States Constitution. And they got problems because what's their answer? We don't need no stinking badges. We don't need to follow the Constitution of the state. I'm pretty sure they swore an oath to it, even though I probably won't go there on that. But, you know, I have yet to find a 45-page, 8.5 by 11 typed constitution for any state, anywhere, except in their own state archives. And that's problematic. The ones I find don't look like it, nothing like it. Nothing like it. The ones I find have they're handwritten. And my question is, gee, did they have typewriters in 1876?
Yeah, we talked about this last one. Yeah.
Did they type constitutions? No, they did not.
No.
And so, you know, and I just find it so weird that in 100 years, I'm the only, you know, me and a few other guys are the only people that have ever looked for them, which is, you know, I mean, I never went to law school, and I strike fears in many of those who do and have.
Because you're thinking outside the legal machinations of their education, because they're trained to do only what the bar tells them to do.
Exactly, you know, and they're fed their knowledge. And I audited several law classes in UW, in Oregon, and even in UVA, and 7 out of 10 law professors that I asked questions to kicked me out of their class because I wasn't a student, and nor would I ever be. They told me asking questions like that get you kicked out of the class. I thought you're supposed to ask questions. No, not the ones they don't want you to be asking.
Not those questions.
Not those questions. And
let's get back to right to travel, because you spoke about the license plate cameras. A lot of those are owned by a corporation called Flock. I recently discovered an entity called a Fusion Center, and I don't know if you're familiar with those or not. I had never heard of them until I stumbled across this, I don't know, it was a video, something about a guy in San Antonio who sued Bexar County, which is the county for San Antonio, Texas, and elicited all this information through discovery. And through discovery, he found out that there are these established is local, county, parish, state federal, and I would assume there may have be some international law enforcement there as well. But they work in these centers and they assimilate information, data, and then if they see suspicious activity, they're able to notify any one of those other local law enforcement entities to enact upon whatever that particular crime may be. In the instance of the case I'm talking about, the gentleman was traveling to the Texas border with Mexico to take a training class. He took the class, finished, and one of his classmates asked for a ride back to her hotel. So he took her back, dropped her off at a hotel, continued on his way. That was picked up through license plate cameras, the suspicious activity. And apparently they must have been tracking him to determine that he actually made a stop, dropped off a woman at a hotel, and continued on his way. Now, how that fusion center contacted the Bexar County Sheriff's deputies was through WhatsApp. And they sent them that this is the license plate of the vehicle, this is the description of the vehicle, make, model, color, etc., and that this vehicle is suspicious for human trafficking. Maybe you should stop it. So they had an interdiction task force, Bexar County does. This is all these guys do. And they pulled this guy over and, they did the once over and all the answers weren't good. And of course, they didn't see a female in there. They didn't see any signs of human trafficking. So it's like, well, we need to call the drug dog. You don't have any drugs in here, do you? And of course, they had to wait for the dog. Then the dog got there, searched the vehicle. And of course, what did the dog do? The dog sat and went, okay, there's drugs in the vehicle. So then they proceeded to tear up this guy's vehicle for the next hour and then apologize and say, sorry, sir, we didn't find anything. And he sued them. And that's how he discovered these fusion centers.
Oh.
Crazily enough, back when I first went to prison and I was reading books for the first time in my life, somebody gave me a stack of books, and the thickest one was about that thick, and it was called The Underground Empire. And I saved it for last. I was like, man, I'll dive into that. I'm going to be there in a minute. And it was a fascinating tale of these entities called syntax. They were unauthorized, unregulated bodies of law enforcement officials who got tired of the bullshit, the interference, the red tape, that they were going to do these little private groups, and they were going to go out on the streets and they were going to do the buy busts and work their way all the way up to the kingpin. And this is how that started. When they'd go out on the streets, they'd pop you, and then it's like, okay, we need you to flip 3 people. We'll go talk to the DA for you. That's how syntax evolved. It was eventually disbanded, allegedly, and unknowns to me, they are now recreated with fusion centers utilizing Flock, Palantir, all data that they can get, license plate readers, biometrics, AI.
Heard of InfraGard?
Yeah. And they're there, and you can go look them up. And you can see where all these establishments are. South Texas is littered with them. And it's eventually going to come to where you're not going to be able to travel. And as soon as you do, you get on the road and that license plate reader hits your car and it can't read your license plate because your license plate's not registered with any U.S. territory or state. Guess what? You're going to get pulled up. So the right to travel. And today I was traveling and spotted a car beside me and took a picture of it. And it had a license plate from California. And I know you can hardly read this, but at the very, very, very bottom underneath the alpha numerical characters, it says dmv.ca.gov. So what California has done, because there must be a prevalence of private license plates out there, that they actually put on the license plate who's issuing the license plate. So this is where we're going, folks. And eventually there's going to be a QR code. They're going to be able to read the QR code. They're going to be able to determine whether your car's registered, you have insurance, your lapse on your insurance, what insurance you actually have, and what it covers. And probably give you the history of the vehicle because it'll trace it with the VIN number and it'll tell them everything they need to know. And this is where we're at. So you talked earlier that tribal members, and I am a tribal member. I belong to the Muskogee Creek, as we discussed earlier. We have the free right to travel, hunt, and all of that. Yep. So let's put this in a frame that people can understand because I'm a 3-time loser. I've been to prison 3 times in Texas. So I have 3 state convictions. I have 4 felonies. Obviously, I can't buy or purchase or trade or possess a firearm.
Well, except friend of mine was he was a felon for cultivation, and he had some gang members threatening him. And so I went down and we bought us a broomstick Mauser. You ever heard of a broomstick Mauser?
No.
Well, it's called a broomstick Mauser because the handle is kind of like a broomstick. Not very comfortable. But it was used in World War I, 1897 and 1898 when it was made. One of the first semi-automatics ever made. You feed it through the top. It's got a magazine. It holds, I think, around 10, 9 millimeter. And it's legal for felons to possess because it is considered a non-gun. Any gun made before 1898 is considered a non-gun. Did you know that?
I knew there was a specific date, and I know that in the Texas statutes it says you can possess black powder.
Yeah, and guess what? A broomstick Mauser is black powder, semi-automatic, and
wow.
Yeah, and it will,
make a difference.
It'll work. These guys are, they pulled up these little 32s. They pulled up next to him and pulled out a little 32, and he pulled out his broomstick Mauser, and they freaked him out. And then they had the cops pull him over, and they were sitting a quarter mile down the road watching the whole thing. He said he could see him back there, and he pointed it out to the cops before he left, and they ended up getting pulled over again. But he said he gives him his broomstick Mauser, and he sees them. They see him walking back with the police car with it, and they're like, "When's they going to throw him in jail?" And the cop comes back and hands it to him. Have a nice day, because it's a non-gun, and it's totally legal, and and so they let them alone after that because they realized. Well, evidently he must be able to carry guns again because he's carrying a damn gun. And the cops gave it back to him. I think they told him, you should probably unload it. And he goes, yeah, I'll get around to that one of these days. Yeah, yeah. And what's cool is the holster is also the stock. You can slide the holster.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. That's the holster. That's the wooden holster that comes with it. And you slide it on the back of the stock, and it makes a damn nice little stock. It makes it very accurate. And, yep, that is a legal non-gun right there. Which will intimidate most people who don't know the difference because it'll kill you just as dead.
Yeah.
They can kind of tell that by looking at it. They're like, okay, we buy it. Yeah, the old broomstick Mauser.
1896.
Kept the gang boys off his butt after that. They didn't want nothing to do with him because they said they didn't know what the hell kind of gun it was, but it looked like a machine gun. So that's what they testified. But yeah, the right to travel is a good one because one of the main things is like, for example, I got pulled over last year in Westminster, and I was doing 47 and a 40, I think. I was doing 50 something and a 40, and I was like 17 over, something like that. And I didn't, I saw it was an unmarked car, and I don't normally pull over for unmarked cars. I do the O.J. Simpson, and where you do speed limit and wait till. So I waited till a marked car got behind him, which didn't take too long, and I pulled over in a parking lot, which is private property. And he came up and he goes, he starts to say something. I said, before we get started, officer, I got to ask you a question. He goes, yeah, what's that? I go, are you attempting to enforce traffic code in an unmarked police vehicle in violation of state and federal law, officer? And he looks back at his car and he goes, I guess so. I said, well, how many laws can you violate in order to enforce how many other laws? Can you violate one in order to enforce two? Can you violate two in order to enforce one or four? I'm not sure how that works. But I'm not going to answer that question. I didn't think you would. I just thought I'd ask. And I said, before we get started, he goes, I need to see your driver's license, proof of insurance, registration. I go, well, before we get started, I need to see your delegation of authority. And he goes, well, that's my badge. And I go, sorry, that badge is strictly a symbol. I can get one at a pawn shop. Until you show me your delegation of authority, you're not legally a police officer, and I can actually place you under citizen's arrest for impersonating an officer under the color of law, official misconduct. I said, I wouldn't want to do that. You seem like a nice guy, just doing your job, right? I said, you got your delegation of authority. He goes, well, what is it? I go, well, last time I checked, it wasn't in my job description to inform you about the law or educate you about the law. I didn't see that in my job description this morning, but I'll check it again if you'd like. You're a funny guy. I said, well, you really want to know what it means? He goes, well, yeah. What's a delegation of authority? I go, it's your police ID. And he's like, well, I go, you don't have it, do you? And he goes, no. And I go, you better get your supervisor down here, bro. We seem to be having a problem. So he called down the supervisor. A bunch of them showed up. And three of them had unmarked vehicles. And I had to straighten them out. You guys attempting to enforce traffic code in unmarked police vehicles? I mean, I could have you guys all written up right now. You know that, right? They're like, no. Well, I said, yeah, no, really. I could actually write you guys citations for violating federal law. I said, you don't seem to understand that. But I said, that's okay. Which one of you have your delegation of authority? And I go, oh. He goes, well, out of five of them, one of them had it in their trunk. It's your police ID. If you don't have it, you're not legally a police officer. It's like driving a commercial truck with no commercial driver's license, no insurance, and none of that stuff. Is that legal? I said, except you guys are carrying weapons. And if you don't have a police ID, I said, man, you could be charged with impersonating an officer under cover of law, official misconduct, and several other charges that are not good for your record. So, I tell him, listen, you seem like a nice guy. Go home, get your police ID. I'm going to let you go this time. I won't file a complaint against you, and I won't make it tough for you to be a police officer. Just go get your police ID, And I said, oh, by the way, I want you to write me a ticket. And they're like, you want me to write you a ticket? I go, I insist. And you go, why would you want me to write you a ticket? And I go, because I plan on setting a case precedence in this matter. That's the way I like, I like to, try to memorialize my name in Supreme Court cases any chance I get. I can always find a case. People don't realize there are gentlemen like Arthur West in Washington. And he's a good one to look up. Arthur West has set, I believe, at least 9 Supreme Court cases in the state of Washington and probably 3 in the U.S. Supreme Court, all based on FOIA. You know about FOIA?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, Arthur's done pretty well off of FOIA. And there's cases like Armand Yusufian versus King County, where I think his was $4.8 million settlement for not answering his FOIA.
Huh. Really?
Really? $100 a day per page, bro. Per day.
Does he put that in with his original letter, the terms and conditions, or
Yeah.
does he?
No, that's federal law.
Oh,
Not terms and conditions. That's federal law, bro.
oh.
5 USC 552 and 552A, the Freedom of Information Act. And there's cases like Kalina versus Fletcher out of Washington State that they said, gee, we don't think $100 a day per page is enough, because this was exculpatory evidence that they withheld, so they granted $300 a day.
Oh, wow.
Per page.
Per page. That's
Per
crazy.
page. You do the math on that one, man. That can add up. And they'll hold it for a long time. And, you know, it's like, you ever heard of Armand Yusufian versus King County?
No, I can recall.
Oh, let me. But Armand Yusufian versus King County, he did a FOIA request on the financial records of the Kingdom. You ever heard of the Kingdom?
Yes.
Yeah. Remember when they blew it up?
I do.
You know, they owed $78 million on that building when they blew it up.
Yeah. We still owe money on our Astrodome, believe it or not. And that was built in 1965.
How do you blow up something you owe $78 million on? I mean, I owed $78 on my house and blew it up. I'm sure I'd go to jail, you know, but you kind of wonder about that stuff. Armand Yusufian, he did a FOIA, and they paid him a serious amount of money to not answer his FOIA on the financial records of the Kingdom.
Wow.
Yeah. And so FOIAs can be pretty lucrative and can, you know, get you to Hawaii. You know, like Arthur, I asked him, I said, you know, after he won his, I don't know how many cases, I'm like, you ever go anywhere, Arthur? He goes, well, what do you mean? I go, well, you know, have you ever go anywhere? He goes, well, I've been to Portland and Seattle. I said, I'm not talking about a place you can drive to in a couple hours. I'm talking about somewhere other than where you live, bro. Like, where? I go, you ever been to Hawaii? He goes, no. I go, well, you got to go to Hawaii. You can afford it now. Yeah, okay. So a couple days later, he flew to Hawaii, rented a car, and drove all over. Now he's got property in Hawaii that he got through FOIAs.
So he was FOIA in state entities and sued him in federal court and won?
No, he sues him in state court and wins.
Okay.
And then he goes to federal court if he has to, you know, but he beats him in state court mostly. A lot of times now they just pony up, you know, because once you set 9 Supreme Court cases in the state and 3 in the U.S. Supreme Court, he scares the pee out of them. You ever heard of Afro Man?
Can't say I have.
He's a rapper that he got busted for weed, you know, and this is before the weed became legal in Cleveland. He's a rapper out of Cleveland. He's a pretty funny guy. But he did this video of this. His mom made him a lemon pound cake under a big glass pedestal with a big glass cover over it. And they raided his house, and here he's got a video of the sheriff walking past his pound cake, Google-eyeing it, you know, about a dozen times, and finally he pops open the cover and just pigs the whole thing down, all on video camera. And so Afro Man made a song called Lemon Pound Cake, and he showed the video. And it pissed off the sheriff so much, he actually arrested Afro Man and charged him criminally. And Arthur saw the video, heard the story. He said, that's interesting. So he FOIA'd the Cleveland Police Department. And they looked up Arthur and they gave him everything. And a lot of it was stuff they didn't give Afro Man or his attorneys. Exculpatory evidence or evidence to prove his innocence. And so he handed it over to Afroman and his attorneys, and Afroman won his case. And Arthur never met him before that, didn't know him, just heard about it and did a FOIA. And after looking up Arthur, they were so scared they gave up the stuff they would not have given up, and they didn't give up to Afroman or his attorneys.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that's just through an amicus brief. You know what amicus is?
Yes, friend.
Amicus curiae. Amicus curiae is friend of the court. And anybody, you don't have to be an attorney, can do an amicus curiae brief as a friend of the court. And I wish I could figure out how to put this on there, but I have a couple of briefs I'm putting together that are for Tina Peters.
You should be able to. You can't share your screen?
I don't know how.
Okay. You should see a little, it's a screen with a plus in it.
Let's see. Let me pull
at
up
the bottom.
Let's see.
If you can't, you can send me some stuff. Next video we do, I can.
Okay. Well, maybe I can share it. Where do I share it to?
Just screen. Share screen.
Oh, I don't know how to do that. Let's see here. No, that ain't it. Oh, no. Uh-oh. There we go. You're back. Let's see.
Do you see right beside your image where it says present or invite?
Oh yeah, present. There we go.
Click on that. And it's going to give you a pop-up menu. Then you can do an image file, screen share. If you do a screen share, you have to have that tab open so you can see it.
Yeah, I don't see that one. Screen share. Is that the chat with everyone in the studio one? No.
No.
Comments, recordings, private chat. That's all I see.
No. That's on the side.
Oh, okay. Oh,
this would all be below.
Oh, below.
Yep. On the very bottom.
Yeah, I don't see that.
Where mine is anyway.
But
it looks different from your end.
Let's see. I could send it to you.
Yeah, you can email it and I'll open it up.
That's what I'll do. And your email?
The Fearless Floyd Show at yahoo.com.
Here we go.
So even with the Mauser, and I'm still on that, you can get one made in like a 1930, but it's using the 1896 model.
Yeah, well, you want to get. I usually get something that's made before 1890.
Okay.
You know, and a friend of mine had a little Colt revolver that was like a snub nose that he carried around. It was black powder in New Orleans, and also a felon. And 5 guys decided they were going to, rob him and take his Mustang, and he just used one shot on each of them and still had one left. It's like,
wow.
And it was like black powder, but I don't think they noticed the powder.
No, they probably didn't.
They tend to be a little low because they tend to be a little heavy. So there's a lot of smoke when you shoot it, but they were pretty close. So, it's just, they couldn't see me, but I knew where they were. So he said, didn't take too long. So it just took a second.
Wow.
Bet you they were surprised. Antique. He goes, one of them started laughing. What are you going to do with that old antique? Well, he was an old antique himself, so he figured,
right.
Black powder. Hey, it worked in the 1800s. Guess what? Probably worked nowadays too, even with the black powder stuff. So did you get it?
I'm looking at one here, and it is
should be
22. Oh, I'm sorry.
petition.
You're talking about the email.
Oh, yeah.
I think you're talking about buying a Mauser.
Oh. Well, there's other models too that are pre-1898. That's just one of them. And that's the one that's kind of scarier looking, and it's pretty cool because it's got the stock, that also works as a holster. So that's good.
All right, here we go.
There we go.
The plaintiff is Article 2, Sections 19 and 20 of the.
Well, no, this.
Oh, people are
kind of screwed up. There's some stuff that got thrown in there.
Okay, I see. It's out of whack.
Yeah. No bueno. But that's right. But this lays out the argument. $500,000 cash only bail argument. Article 2, Sections 19 and 20. And it's all, it's like, do you not know the difference between sureties, which is plural, and cash only, which is singular? It's well,
they're pretty dumb in Colorado. I got to say that.
I'd say most states, bro. But they get away with so much crap. It's not even funny because people don't beat them up on it.
People don't know.
They don't know.
Don't know.
I don't mind educating them a little bit.
Well, we're going to have you on some more often to definitely cover this.
And let me see if I can punch up my right to travel one. I got my Indian right to travel brief here. So
you better go over here and find me a gun.
That might come in handy. Let's see. Yeah, that's probably it right there. Does that one?
Are you on Telegram?
What's that?
Are you on Telegram?
No, probably not.
Okay.
But I also did one a long time ago by looking at the statutes and reading the statutory requirements and the citations.
Uh-huh.
I made him change every ticket book for every officer in the state.
Wow.
Not once, not twice, 3 times.
Oh, they love you, don't they?
They really love me. That's why they kicked the crap out of me, knocked my teeth in, and tried to beat me to death. I mean, they pulled me out of my office at about 7, and I didn't get to jail till 1:30. And I was in pretty bad shape. The jailer told him, I can't book this guy because if I do, we could all go to jail. He says, you can't recognize him. He's, there's no way. So they threw me in an ice cold shower from like 2 o'clock in the morning till 7, I think, 7 or 8. Oh, here it is. Oh yeah, you're going to like this one. Boom. Okay. We'll share this one. All Indians have the secured treaty right to travel upon all states' public highways without being required to have state-issued driver's licenses, license plates, or registration. And I got a newer one, but this is an older one. Oops. Check that out.
As you hear my phone going off, for future reference, folks, please don't include me in any chain texts. It's nuts. I have to mute it because I can just be at work and all of a sudden 12 notifications pop off. This is from Stuart Hanty. If you don't remember who Stuart is, Stuart's the former county sheriff in Nevada, Texas, or Nevada state trooper who was in his attorney's office and started talking to the guy across from him and said, "Hey, maybe I can help you out," and made a phone call to his fellow former co-worker law enforcement officer. And boy, did he kick the hornet's nest. Trying to help the wrong person.
Oh, yeah, I know. I do that all the time.
Well, he didn't even know this guy. He was just sitting in an office, started talking to him, had a conversation, and the guy's like, yeah, that's my problem. And what happened is his parents set up a irrevocable trust, and this guy's sister decided she wanted to go in and just take all the money, and the hell with the parents. I want money now. I'm not going to wait till they die. And got the attorney. Somehow they worked in cahoots and raided the trust, and she pulled money out and did bad at real estate investments and lost all the money. He's trying to stop her, and somehow he got sideways with the whole system. And he went to jail. Stewart went to jail. Stewart's now being compelled to go to court in Nevada. He's at an undisclosed location. Yeah.
I might be able to help him there, bro.
Okay. Well, that would be awesome.
Because let's see, Nevada. There's a few tribes that represented the Paiutes over there. And
okay.
Let's see here.
This looks like a good deal. This is $305.10 for one of these Mausers.
I thought you might like that.
Oh, hell yeah, I'm getting one of these. I'm going to wear it. I'm going to open carry and flip people out.
Well, try to be discreet because they will come around and give you hell. It's just a good idea to have.
Please give me hell. Please give me hell. Please.
Yeah. But yeah, there's the other one. The other one's the updated one. It's got all the Colorado right to travel stuff on it. If you take a look at that one too, that's.
Did you email it?
Yeah, I just emailed it to you.
Okay, let me get back over there.
Should get it pretty soon if you haven't got it already. Now let's see. Here's a photo.
And all this money just getting messed off.
Well, if people knew that also besides the CRIS system, about the monetization of your CUSIP number and your social security number through the GSA, don't you?
Explain that, but let me show the screen and we'll get to that in a second. And yeah, it's 8:34. We have about 15 minutes left. Let me.
But where was I? There it is. And my friend got pulled over in Kentucky just last month. And this is what he gave him. And the officer said, "Well, I really appreciate it. I've never learned so much about Indian law till today." And see, actually, there's a case, the Supreme Court case that happened like year before last, that the Supreme Court disappeared like it never happened.
Wow.
It was called Washington State Department of Licensing versus Cubden. And I had a lot of friends of mine had it on their computers, and it just disappeared like it never happened. Which I don't know how they do it, but they did it. I had it saved in a bunch of places. Gone. So, but that case, the reason they got rid of it is because they understood the significance of it after the Supreme Court ruled that direction. Because
got rid of it.
Well, a friend of mine that practiced in the Supreme Court asked about it. And the guy pulled him off the side and said, "You want to practice in the Supreme Court ever again? Don't you ever mention the case ever again." It doesn't exist. It never existed. I read it. They're kind of screwed because I remember it verbatim. And the reason they scrubbed it is because that case says basically it's similar to a case that's a couple years earlier called Cougar Den. And Cougar Den is a similar case. It's a fuel company owned by the Yakima tribe that was hauling fuel across the state of across the Canadian border to Yakima, and they were selling it for about 30-40 cents less a gallon than just about anywhere. And the Supreme Court ruled under Cougar Den that the Yakima tribe, since their treaty was from 1855, that there was no, that in their treaty it says they can go across the Canadian border without being harassed. It said nowhere does it say they can't go across the border in their semi full of fuel and sell it for whoever they want on their reservation. And so they won. The Supreme Court said, yeah, you can't do that. Well, and Cubden was a couple of years later, and they added that that states are not allowed to discriminate against non-federally recognized tribes, like the ones that I am chief of, the Kikialis tribe, because there was no BIA and there was no federal recognition in 1855 when we signed our treaties. And it went on to say that the BIA and federal recognition were created in order to take the tribe's land, their treaty rights, their culture, and all their and all their assets, like their ability to harvest fish and hunt game and gather and stuff like that. So because when I was a kid, we used to go up in the mountains, in the meadows up in the mountains, and we would harvest what's called camas bulbs. And they're purple flowers that grow up in the high mountain meadows. And we'd dig those babies up and we'd wrap them up with like seaweed and put sweetgrass under. We'd have a big pit of coals. We'd get going, have a big fire and wait till it burns down the coals, and then put wet sweetgrass over that, and then put the camas bulbs down, and then more sweetgrass on top of that, and then a tarp, and then you put a bunch of dirt over it and leave it for about 3 days. And oh man, it was good. It's really good. That's what a lot of tribes used to make pemmican with, along with the meat and other stuff. But yeah, it's something that's kind of gone away now. Most of the places that grew camas are not around anymore. But I diverge. But yeah, if you look at that Indian Right to Travel brief, the second one, it quotes, what I did is I did a word search for right to travel for these different, in the state. And that, see, it doesn't quote just like Thule versus Washington or Leicester Strip Matter was another case. And but there's cases that also say, for example, like they hated me so much they actually sent me a license in the mail, and they used a mugshot as my license picture, which I thought was pretty funny. So I demanded a copy of the perfected instrument that allowed them to issue a license for a privilege I never asked for. And they couldn't find it. So they had to, I mean, you know why they sent me a license through the mail? Because the day after they sent it to the mail, they suspended it. And they had a law that says they could arrest you for driving while license suspended. The problem with that is That's not what the law says. The law says you can't be arrested for driving while license suspended. It's not an arrestable offense. Under federal law, Title 49 of the Interstate Transportation Safety Act says driving while license suspended is not an arrestable offense. So it's a good one to know because they do it a lot. Let's see, if you look at this Colorado definitions, public right-of-way, all streets, roadways, sidewalks, alleys, and other areas reserved for present or future use by the public as a matter of right for the purposes of vehicular or pedestrian travel. And that's in all over the state, town of Frisco, Park County, which I caused them some grief. And there's an interesting story out there about how to shut down a courthouse. I shut down the Park County, or not the Park County? Yeah.
Wow.
Park County Courthouse. I shut it down here for a few weeks. That's a pretty interesting story. We'll have to go into that next time. There's an article called The Strange Case of Kurt Riggins, where I was prosecuted for filing a complaint against a police officer. He charged me with unlawful practice of law and contempt of Supreme Court. When I threatened to arrest the prosecutor for the Supreme Court, I think it was like a day later, they arrested me for felony bribery of a Park County sheriff. So when I went in the sheriff's office, I had a bag in my hand, and they go, "What do you got in the bag?" I go, "Cupcakes. You want one?" They go, "Cupcakes? What the hell's that?" I go, "It's a donut." They go, "You think that's funny?" I go, "I think it's chocolate glazed, but I didn't want to eat one in front of you and being polite, so I brought extra." They go, "We don't want your damn donut." So I filed the complaint against Mr. Officer Hannigan, and he had to quit or get fired because he was harassing a stage 4 pancreatic cancer patient for using medical marijuana. And in this state, it's a constitutional offense, so it's not really legal. And then they had me arrested for felony bribery of a Park County sheriff for offering him the cupcake. And they took my retinal scan and my DNA by force, which it's kind of entertaining because they stuck me in the jail, and there's like 4 cops around me, and he goes, "We're gonna have to take a retinal scan and the DNA." I said, "You're not doing that without a warrant." "You got a warrant?" So the guy starts spraying and scrubbing right with this stainless steel table. He does that about 4 times. The 5th time I go, "You think it's clean enough?" Dumbest thing I ever said. Because they grabbed me by what hair I had left and shoved my face into the table until they got enough blood and saliva to get my DNA, and held my eyes open until they got my retinal scan. Without no warrant required. But I went to, they take me into court, and I told, at first, when I had a couple of friends of mine come with me, and we go to court. I go to the court clerk's office, and I go, "I want to see the copy of the warrant and the affidavit of probable cause I was arrested on." The clerk says, "I don't have it. I've never seen it." I'm like, "You're the court clerk. Aren't you required to have it?" She goes, "Well, the prosecutor has it." I get it from her. So I went over to the prosecutor's office. I said, "I need a copy of the warrant and the affidavit of probable cause I was arrested on." And the prosecutor goes, "I've never seen it. I don't have it." Ruh-roh. So I go, "Listen, I want this case thrown out." She goes, "Well, you have to ask the judge about that." I'm like, "What do you mean I have to ask the judge about that? Aren't you the prosecutor?" "Well, yeah." And I go, "Well, then, she goes, "Well, the judge is in 10 minutes. So we get over there, get into court, and get in front of the judge. I said, "I demand this case be dismissed immediately." Because based on what? I go, "Based on the fact that I was arrested on a non-existent warrant that neither the prosecuting attorney or the court clerk has a copy of. So therefore, it doesn't exist." You know what the judge said? "Oh, I have that in my private file."
Huh.
Private file? Yeah, he was nice enough to give me, the prosecutor, and the court clerk a copy of it. For the record. And then he got upset at me because I was saying stuff that he didn't like. You know, he threatened me with contempt, and I went through the, you know, civil or criminal contempt or objection, all that stuff, and that really works him up. And finally, he said, "Call him in here now." And they called 9 cops, came in 3 separate doors all at once. And this Park County is not a very big courtroom, you know. And I had a friend of mine that came in with me. I was at that time I was walking with these crutches that clamp onto your forearms, you know. And I was really sick, so I was throwing up in the garbage can that was right next to me. And at that time, I didn't know I was dying of liver failure because my liver had been fractured in 2 pieces. But cops come rushing in, and they're looking at tackling my friend who's like 6'4", you know. They're going, "Is that him? Is that him?" And he's going, "It's not me, man." And the judge goes, "No, it's a guy on crutches thrown up in the garbage can." You know, can 9 cops look good beating up a guy on crutches thrown up in a garbage can in the middle of a courtroom full of people? Probably not look good doing that, right?
Right.
Yeah. So you can't polish that turd. So they go, "Well, what do you want us to do to him? He's on crutches and he's throwing up, you know." And they said, "Well, just get him in the garbage can out of here." So they hauled me out to the parking lot. And that's when I noticed it's a fairly new court with a gravel parking lot with a 6-inch curb to get to the sidewalk. Now, what's the significance of that? Do you know?
Right.
Can you get your wheelchair up a 6-inch curb, bro? Does anybody have a wheelchair that'll climb up a 6-inch curb? No. Especially if you're an ADA compliance officer. So I get home, called up the ADA compliance officer for the state of Colorado, and I said, "Can you have a courthouse that's not handicap accessible?" And he goes, "Of course not." I go, "Well, you got one." He says, "I don't believe it." I go, "Well, don't take my word for it. Go up to the Park County Courthouse." And I said, "If you go up there, stop at the Coney Island Dog Place on the way. It's great hot dogs, man." It's like, all right. So he goes up there during his lunch break, stops at the hot dog spot, you know, gets up to the courthouse. He says, "I couldn't get out of the parking lot." So he sat in his van for about 15 minutes. And he goes, it was about 20 to 1, but you know, when he was sitting there, and he goes, finally a lady showed up and he goes, "Excuse me, ma'am, could you tape this to the door for me? I can't seem to get to the door." And she goes, "Oh, okay." She runs over there, tapes it to the door, and she reads it. It says, "This building closed to the public until further notice." And she runs back and says, "Sir, you can't do this. This is a courthouse. We have court in 15 minutes. He goes, "Ma'am, there's no court in this building until I can get in that front door. That's the law." She goes, "Sir, you can't do this." He goes, "Ma'am, I'm the guy who does it, and I just did it. I'm the ADA compliance officer. Here's my badge." And he goes, "And I just put a close order." And he goes, "The cops can go in there. Any court official and court employee can go in there. Judges can go in there. But nobody from the public is allowed in that building until I can get in that door."
Wow.
And boy, what's funny is I called a friend of mine and said, "Hey, you very busy?" He goes, "No, dude, I'm not going to make my mortgage this month." I go, "Well, no, actually, since you're the only guy with a contractor's license in the county, you're busy as hell. You got 5 clients waiting for you, and you're just finishing up a 6th job." He goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "Just remember that when you get an emergency call from the courthouse in the next hour or so." I said, "Can you just drop 5 waiting clients that want you to do work for them, or 6, and just charge the regular rate?"
Right.
He goes, "I'd probably have to charge us 5 times Davis-Bacon wages at least." I said, "Keep that in mind when you get a call in the next hour." He calls me back. He goes, "My mortgage is going to be covered, bro. I am covered."
Wow.
Because I'm getting 5 times Davis-Bacon wages. They got an emergency job. They need me to drop everything and come out and do. So I'm
Wow.
going to do just that. So he made his day. But well, that was funny. He builds a ramp. Call the guy out. He comes out there. He goes up the ramp, gets to the front door, and guess what?
It's locked.
No. What did the courthouse have? 2 doors you got to pull open. Can you do that in a wheelchair? No. So he just turned around, got in his van, went back to his office, and they called him end of the day, said, "Sir, when are you going to come and take the sign off the door?" He goes, "Ma'am, when I could get in that door." Can you go down and get an automatic door opener for a courthouse at Lowe's or Home Depot?
Right. Kurt, I'm up at a hard break. I've got to go. And I apologize for the short notice on anything you want to leave the audience with, and let's get you scheduled for later this week. Is that fine?
Yeah, check out the Indian Right to Travel brief. It can come in handy, and what I do is I tell people carry extra copies when they get pulled over. You go, "Excuse me, officer, after you go through do you have your delegation of authority and all that stuff, and are you an unmarked illegal vehicle?" You hand them a copy of the Indian Right to Travel brief, and they go, "What the hell is this?" You go, "By the way, that's your copy. You've been served. I don't want you to try to claim ignorance of the law later on in court." So, good one to know. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for being here. Stay healthy, and we'll catch you on the next one. Nope, sorry about that. Folks, here we go. This is a lot of good information. We're going to cover some more on the right to travel. I tell everybody, man, especially if you're melanated, if you're black, most likely you're a Native American. You've been lied to. Institutionalized program, that public education, and you think you came from Africa on a ship, right? Your ancestors, no, probably local. So I encourage everybody, do an ancestry test, find out whether or not you're Native American. There's a process you do that. It's in the Specialty Trust book. I included it in this book. It's at the very back. There you go. I got to go, everybody. I'll be back in 7 minutes. Yeah, 7 minutes with Irene. Here we go. And I got to roll, folks. Y'all have a good one. I'll see you in a few minutes.